tell me what got gun on all that dirt. Yeah. Yo, if I were podcasting, it would be insane. Knowledge flowing like the sweetest rain. Professor Bear on the mic, spreading wisdom wide. The best thoughts, that's my pride, can't hide.
With the voices in your ear, changing the game.
If I rule podcasting, every thought we'd ignite. In a world of chatter, with a spark in the fight. With Professor Bear, we're climbing to new heights. A Bear's Thoughts podcast, shining bright in the night. Topics from the heart, never sounding the same. Got laughs and debates, never dull or bland. From culture to tech, take you by the hand. Join the ride with us, feel the vibe expand. With every episode, we shine that
beginnings on the cusp. Not too old to adjust. Old dog, new tricks. Remember, I was just a pup. Something dirty in my cup. Clean soul.
So tune in, don't miss what we got to share. If I rule podcasting, I spread the love everywhere.
Welcome, and thank you for joining me this evening. I am Professor Bear, and this is A Bear's Thoughts. And the thought that is running through my mind right now is, it is amazing when you're having such a great year and it's just starting. Man, I've been super blessed to have so many great people on my show this year. Some I knew, some come from my family of WSN, some that gave me my first break when I started doing podcasting, and some that I'm just meeting for the first time. Like this gentleman here. I actually saw one of his podcasts, and it intrigued me so much. And not saying I do or don't. What I am saying is I love the thought behind his podcast. So let me introduce you to Blade. How are you doing today, sir?
Great. I appreciate you for having me. And yeah, man, it's an honor to be here. And when you reached out, of course, I would love to come on and, share my story and, tell you about how it all got started. And, like you said, you've been grinding, man. We talked a little bit before this started, but yeah, you've been live all day and all month. And you said it's not going to slow down anytime soon. So that's awesome.
Yeah. I tell no lie. It's been tiring, but it's been such fun. I cannot think of one guest that I've had that I didn't legitimately have fun with, have great discussions. And the thing I really enjoy about it is people are getting to learn so much behind the scenes of being a podcaster and how much we really go through for the sport we love, and how just whatever you think about podcasting, I think afterwards you see there's a big difference of what you think and what goes on. But in the end, we don't mind because we love this sport.
For the love of the game, right?
Yes, sir. So let me start with the question I ask everyone when they first come on. What started you to be a wrestling fan?
Wow. I just feel like it's always been there, you know. I mean, I can always remember wrestling being on the TV or being some part of aspect of my life. I don't really remember one moment where it was like this, you know, dignified me as a fan, or I seen a certain match or something like that. It was always there from what I can remember. Growing up as a small child, watching wrestling, even like going to Blockbuster and renting videos and picking out which ones you wanted and things like that. So. You know, even of like the older stuff, like early WrestleManias, I can remember just seeing like the cover art and being like, oh, Hulk Hogan and, you know, Ultimate Warrior, stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, it's like, I want to watch that. So, yeah, I just feel like it's always been there.
So with that, where did the fandom turn to more of, hey, I want to get into doing podcasts about this?
So I would say that started about April or May of last year, 2025. And it just came down to, I had took a long break from wrestling, probably 5 or 6 years where I didn't really watch much at all. I kind of stayed up to, you know, date with like the major events or major things that were happening. But I just took a large break from it. NXT Black and Gold, I started getting back into things. That was about like 2016 or so, I guess, around that time. And yeah, I just started slowly getting back into wrestling. And then, like I said, last year, I'm always talking about it, going to indie shows, you know, supporting wrestling. And, you know, I was like, I could make something out of this. You know what I mean? Like I would go on like TikTok lives, and I still do now, and go on panels and have discussions or debates or, you know, fantasy book or whatever. And people like my opinion. So I was like, you know what, let me put myself out there and see what happens. Yeah, I feel like I have a unique perspective on things. Just growing up, my dad was a professional wrestler. He was an independent wrestler in Maryland. He wrestled for like MEWF and MCW and, you know, other various promotions as well. But I just feel like I have a different perspective on a lot of things than just like, you know, an average fan watching just a consumer product. Like I find the business very interesting, the behind the scenes very interesting, what goes into character development, creative things like that. Yeah, I like to deep dive sometimes. Sorry, I don't know if that answered your question.
No, I mean, that's good. So with your father being a wrestler, was that did you learn the behind the scenes early then?
I won't say that I learned behind the scenes, but I was able to observe a lot of things that kind of, as I got older and became an adult, you can kind of understand more. You know what I mean? Because as a child or a young man, you're kind of like, you're just so consumed that, oh, I'm at the show and things like that. But when you're behind the scenes or in the locker room, you see how these guys interact and, you know, things that you don't get to see as a fan all the time. How the business can be jaded at times. You know, things that, you know, there's a lot more that goes into the magic of wrestling than what you get to see a lot of times. So I feel like I got to see a lot of how the sausage is made somewhat before at an early age, and, you know, kind of get the pieces together as I got older. And now I'm starting to kind of dip my toes into the arena a little bit.
So with you saying you've done a lot of indie shows and everything, would you say you're more of an indie fan versus the big shows, or are you a balance of both?
I would say I would primarily lean towards the independents is where I usually focus at. I'm a big deathmatch wrestling fan too, so that's even a niche of a niche. I also do stay up to date with the current like WWE and AEW product, but I'm not a frequent watcher. Is like I'm not every week watching Raw or SmackDown. Like I'll see the highlights or something big. Like I just seen before we started, Tommaso Ciampa just showed up on AEW. So
oh,
you know,
why did you ruin that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
And the only reason why I said that is because I heard the rumor that he was going to show up.
Really? Yeah, I didn't see it. It kind of blew me because I'd seen him like getting prepared, like, oh, he's about to go do an indie run or whatever he's going to do. I was honestly, I didn't see anything about him going to AEW, so it's kind of last thing I expected, I guess. But you know, good for him. But I don't know. It's kind of like, you know,
Well, and see that, and I would say this part of it. When you have WWE has legitimate competition like AEW, where a lot of times it wasn't a big thing when a wrestler left. Now it is for the fact of they don't necessarily want them to go to
a direct
to the
competitor.
competition.
Yeah.
And so that which competition breeds ratings, which is going to go back and forth. So it can be kind of exciting on one part, and other parts I get it, but you just never know what a person will be able to do, because Tomasa is one hell of a wrestler.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
And
And you don't, and you also don't get to see many people walking off of one product directly onto another anymore either. So that's
Yeah.
what's kind of interesting about it.
Yeah, that's definitely true. So going back to the indies, what is the thing that really excites you about indie wrestling?
I think that you get to see where wrestlers really hone their craft, where they really get to figure things out, where they really get to understand their character, who they are, how to work a crowd, how to not work a crowd. I mean, everything that they're going to learn, I feel like it's going to be right there on the indies. Some of these guys that I feel like nowadays, and let's say WWE, for example, that are, you know, NIL deals that are pulled from, say, a college football team or a college wrestler or whatever else. Yeah, they're athletic and they probably pick up on things really fast. But do they get the reps that a, you know, independent wrestler that's out there grinding every weekend, or is a full-time independent wrestler and is taking even more bookings than that? No, and that's experience that can't be taught. So I feel like the independents are the true we're the true you know, I don't know, fun, where you get to really see the rawness of you know what wrestling should be.
I agree with you. If I was going to say anything, I would say that they don't get the psychology as much as indies, because the indies, one thing I really enjoy about the indies, especially now, is back to a territorial feel. You get to go to different parts of the country and learn how to work different crowds.
Oh yeah.
You can go overseas, you get to learn how to work their crowds, the different styles, and there's so much to gain going the indie routes that I think a lot of wrestlers who, and I'm not knocking them for going through the NI deal with WWE or anything. I just think that you get more of a experience that will stick with you longer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, not to knock any of those guys, or, you know, I or the next person wouldn't take that same exact deal if it was offered to you, you know what I mean? But
Exactly.
it's like, you know, when it comes to a person who's earning their stripes and, you know, they really, really earned and grind and did their thing, like, you got to respect that when you see them finally make it, you know?
Oh, yeah. And another thing, too, and I think AJ Styles is the perfect example of this. You feel like you play a small role in them being who they are, because you got to see them at the lower level. You got to see them grinding before people knew who the hell AJ Styles were. You knew about it, and it was a cool thing because you had to be in that circle to know about AJ.
Yeah.
And then once he got bigger and bigger, it's like, oh, y'all now just catching on. I knew this 5 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing about the indies. That's where you're able to develop those connections with these wrestlers is supporting them early on in their career, or even when you see guys that, leave like, WWE or AEW and they come back on the indies, like it's cool to be able to go there and, have a more intimate sort of interaction with them versus, hey, you're at a big show, you're not going to get to talk to them or speak to them or buy their merch directly from them. So it's a whole different experience when you're there on the indie scene.
And I like to call it, I call it going to a family reunion, because it feels like everybody.
Yeah.
And if that certain person doesn't show up for 2 or 3 shows, when they finally show up, it's like, man, are you okay? You've been going through something?
Yeah.
Like, nah, this ain't like you. So something's going on.
Yeah, that's how it's been for me with my local indie here where I'm at. I'm based out of West Virginia, and we would go to every show, but my schedule's changed recently, so hopefully it'll be changing again soon, and we'll get back on pace with being able to get back to the shows. So
yeah, it's and like you said, to get to actually talk to the wrestler and learn what they're going through and dealing with, it's more of a human feel with that. And it's just an amazing thing thinking, man, oh Jesus, you still work? This ain't your job? You work 2 jobs in doing this?
Yeah.
Good God. And that shows you how much it really means to them.
Oh yeah. That, and also I couldn't tell you how many wrestlers that you don't really think that you support, or they're not really your type or whatever. And then you have a conversation with them, or maybe you do a podcast with them, and then you get to really pick their brain, and you're like, man, I'm all invested now into this person. So it's like things like that you wouldn't normally get, so. Yeah,
definitely. And I had an experience where, and to this day, I still find it funny and amazing. I had a wrestler and his girlfriend come run up on me, and I saw them coming, but I didn't think they were coming towards me. Then they made the way around the ring, and then I was like, huh. And they came up like, oh my God, you're Professor Bear. Man, it's good to see. And I'm standing
You're
there.
Like, what? You're like, what?
Yeah. Hey, what? Huh? And he's like, man, I listened to your stuff, man. You're really good. And I'm still sitting there thinking,
no way.
What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And then finally, when he talked, I said, man, I appreciate it. I said, but you realize I should be doing this to you, right? You're the wrestler. I'm just a podcaster. This feels off. And he's like, man, can we take a picture? I'm like, what in the world is happening here? But that shows how much people respect you, respect your opinion, and it's something that I definitely learned not to take for granted. If anybody recognizes me, I immediately stop. I talk to them. If they actually gave a few autographs out, which again is another mind-blowing thing, but I definitely am very humbled when people want to interact with me. And when I get to interact with wrestlers, I try to be very respectful, be careful of what I say, and don't try to act like I know the business because I'm a podcaster. I try to be very humble and respectful.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of wrestlers appreciate that and know how respectful you are to the business. Even though we're not in it, they still respect that we have so much respect for it.
Oh yeah, and you'll even hear from them, like they'll tell you about how much they appreciate, podcasters. I mean, I've heard it from so many of them, even when they reach out to try to come on, which it's still that same kind of feeling like, wow, like they're reaching out to me. So, must mean you're doing something right. But it's kind of like, it's cool to think about, like, damn, okay, I'm doing something right. They like what I'm saying. And, yeah, you don't want to come off any type of way like you're, some know-it-all or something. And a lot of times they'll kind of test you in some certain sort of way to see what your wrestling knowledge is or how much they're going to actually let on to you. So it's a little mind games, I guess.
They still protect the business at any cost by state. And honestly, I love that, because I think a lot of times we have a tendency to give some secrets away and stuff, but we're not like some fans that go too far. They're just like, won't give them any privacy and very disrespectful, and think like the wrestlers owe them something.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Like they owe them something, or some of them I feel like don't understand that there's an actual person behind the gimmick or the wrestler or whatever. And you got to realize that you're talking to that actual person sometimes too, versus just a character. So when you treat them like a person, just like anybody else, a lot of times you're going to have that same mutual respect that they'll give to you. But if you're treating them like you said, like somebody that owes them something, or because I've seen you on TV, you should do this for me or just give this to me or whatever, it's like they're just going to blow you off, Yeah.
So in your short career, who's been the guest that was just mind-blowing that you were able to get on and have a conversation with?
Just mind-blowing. Well, I could say just incredible. I had him on. I had him on early. Justin was great to me, so I know he's got a lot of negative connotation out there about him. But I mean, I can only tell you how people treat me, and he treated me great. But I know that he's supposedly getting clean now, and I think 90 days sober. So good for him if he is. And I think he's also starting his own podcast. So shout out to Just Incredible. But I mean, it's just interesting. It's kind of mind blowing, like to think like, oh yeah, you watch this guy when you're a kid on ECW and WWF, and then it's like, oh, here he is on my podcast that I just kind of created out of midair and some, thin air in some sense. But as you do an interview like that, and you hear feedback from people and they tell you, oh my God, it was great. And what have you, and they like it, they support you. That's where I feel like it starts to click that like, oh, I'm doing something right. Like I should continue doing this. I should, be thriving for more. And that's what I'm doing, is just trying to, have conversations with these wrestlers and maybe bring something to the table that maybe someone didn't know about them. Or I'd like to say if one conversation can help, just one person out there, it was all worth it,
Oh, definitely. It's kind of amazing. I just had another conversation with a guest of mine, and he wrapped it up beautifully that we play a part in people that we may never know about, that we made their day. They were going through something bad, and just to be able to listen to us help them forget about it for a little while.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a big I listen to a lot of podcasts, and that was one of the reasons why it's kind of like if they can do it, I can do it. And it also comes back to what you said in the beginning. You kind of realize how hard it is, and you realize what goes into it and what's behind the scenes. So when you are grinding and you see someone else out there on that same trajectory as you kind of recognize it's really like, all right, I see the grind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I forgot where I was going with that,
but well, one of the things I think one of the driving force behind me wanting to have a appreciation month for podcasters is that a lot of people don't really understand what we put into doing this. We a lot of times we don't get the "you're doing good." Uh, Let us know how we're doing enough, and and then that misnomer that we're making a ton of money doing this.
Oh yeah.
Like, what? You make money?
Yeah, yeah. That's definitely one of the most frequently asked questions that I have from like friends or family or what have you, or people that find out that I have a podcast for the first time. Oh, you make any money off of that? It's like, no, not right now, but maybe eventually. So, but for me, it's more of the connections. That's the most valuable part of it is the connections. Having people give you their feedback, sort of what you're saying, like there's not always an instant payoff or instant gratification, but just even today, like I had someone reach out to me through comments of a video that I filmed months ago because they like that video. And also to piggyback what you're saying, people are going through things. They listen to podcasts. I think that's the thought that came back to my head. You are able to kind of like have a little bit of therapy by being a fly on the wall in this person's conversation and getting to chime in. So yeah, it's I think it's all worth it.
I definitely do too. Uh, and like I touch on what you said, that you get to talk to people that you watched growing up, and I like the craziest thing for me is being able to walk up to Ricky Morton and he knows me and we carry on a good conversation, and I can actually look in my phone. I have his numbers. Like, what the world? Wow.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow. And then and where I like indie guys and girls is because we're helping them. We're making them have a bigger audience. Hopefully people will start looking out for them and trying to learn and follow their journey, and anything to help them. That's what I get the most pleasure out of.
Absolutely. I like to look at it like almost like a floating roster, you know what I mean, of people that you have that either you're interested in, or their story is going to be interesting, or whatever the value or the exchange is, that you get something out of them and they get something out of you. And it's kind of like now you guys have that connection that we talked about. You're able to like follow their path and see where they go. Even like to like you said about people that might be mind blowing to come on my podcast. Like there's people that I've even like doubted myself. Like, I'm not going to reach out to them. They're probably going to say no, or they're probably not going to reach back out or whatever. And that same person that I thought that of, as soon as I messaged them, they messaged me right back. I said, absolutely, let's do it. And you're just like, what? Like, okay, cool. Like, it's like, yeah, I'm doing something right, because again, people have recognized me just by seeing my content and things out there, and they like what I'm doing. And it's always a badge of honor, low key, I guess, to be like, all right, cool, doing something right,
Yeah. And like you said, no, I'm not going to reach out to them. They'd never do it. And then finally you just take that shot and it's like, wow, they're really going to do it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I enjoy where people vouch for you.
Yes.
I had so many people like, oh, you want to do his podcast? He would treat you right. He's great. And it's like, wow. And you were talking about just incredible. I was blessed to talk to Ahmed Johnson. Heard so many negative things about Ahmed, but you would never get me to say one negative thing about him.
He didn't treat you bad, right?
Man, he was very, very nice. The conversation was great, and he offered to help me when I didn't even ask. Again, I understand people have bad days and have different feelings for whatever reason, but you again, I would not talk bad about Ahmed Johnson.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, same like Justin, like that episode that I put out where I interviewed him, and it was even early on, I think maybe like my 6th episode, and I think I'm at 40 or 41 now. But yeah, it was just like I had people in the comments like just going ham just because I interviewed him and just mad, I don't know if I can cuss on here, but
you're fine.
Just mad shit talking in the comments, so it's like, but it is what it is.
Yeah, because in the end, not every guest is going to be a home run for every viewer.
Yeah.
So, one of my all-time favorite ones, I got to talk to Ron Fuller, and his family goes almost 100 years back in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know how much he meant to me and my family personally. So it was an honor to talk to him and have a discussion, and where we were going to do just a short interview, turned into a lot longer because he respected the questions. He saw how much I respected him in the business, and that means something when you get respect from a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
So, I personally enjoyed that one, but again, I treat all my guests the same, whether you are a legend or a rookie. I always give that same energy, and I try to help people.
Absolutely.
You just want to help build them up. If there's their first time doing a podcast, okay, I try to, hey, you want to do this, and have that conversation before. Hey, just don't even think like that. We're having a conversation. 2 old friends.
Yeah, I mean, and it's crazy. Like, I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. So sometimes I feel like there's a bigger reason of why this, a podcast episode might happen. And one particular instance is a gentleman named Alex Salyers. He's based out of Arizona. He had a few medical issues where he was having some seizures outside of the ring, and it's preventing him from getting back into the ring. But he came on and told his story. And me and him were like instant connection after that, exchange cell phone numbers, texts, whatever. Talk about a lot more personal things than what we talked about on the podcast, but it's just things like that where it's like where there's instant connections where you wouldn't think that you would ever meet this person. You know what I mean? Like, I'm on the East Coast, he's on the West Coast. When am I ever going to meet this guy? But a fan of his reached out to me, and like I said, everything happens for a reason. He was put in my life, and it was like, just, it's crazy how these types of connections and interactions happen. But again, I guess everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, definitely. What is the difference between your podcast and any other one?
Good question. I think it would just have to come down to me, because no one's going to be able to bring your own perspective and opinion and aspect to your podcast. So same thing with you. That's what makes your podcast different than mine. I just feel like my opinion, the way I think about things, the way I want to present the conversation and make that person spotlight it. It's a little bit different than others, but then again, there are so many wrestling podcasts out there. It's hard to sometimes set yourself aside from others, but I just think it just comes down to being genuine, being you. As long as you're, genuine to yourself and you're real and raw, that's going to bleed through, and people are always going to pick up on that. So if you're, fake in the front and you're not really being you, and you're not who you are on, in real life on that podcast, and then maybe you're at a show and it's like, this guy is not the same guy. It's like, you never want that, so always be genuine, always be authentic. And I feel like that's what's going to set you aside from other podcasts out there. So
if you had to opportunity right now, God came to you and said, okay, I'm going to let you talk to any wrestler. You're
Mm.
getting the interview, any wrestler, dead or alive. Who would it be and why?
Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon. Because how many podcasts have you ever seen him on?
True. Very true.
Still one of the most controversial men, people, figures, billionaires, whatever title you want to put on him out there. At least in our realm of wrestling, top dog. You know what I mean? I know he's got a lot
Oh,
of,
yeah.
a lot of controversy going on with him with the lawsuits and all that stuff. But yeah, I think that man has stories beyond stories. And if that could ever happen, that would be the one. If I could only pick one person, it would be him.
That I've had a lot of people say Bret Hart. I've had Eddie Guerrero, Owen Hart, but I don't think anybody I asked this question to ever said Vince.
It wasn't even loaded either. Like that was right off the dome. So
and that's the thing. Like you said, he doesn't do a lot of interviews, and I think back when he did the one, I can't remember the guy's name, but Vince went like bonkers on him.
yeah.
And I was like, wow, would I dare try to get that reaction from him?
Yeah. It's one of those things, and that's the thing with that comes with podcasts. And sometimes you're like, all right, how far can I push the envelope, or how far can I push the line with this person without crossing that line, because I don't want to disrespect them.
Right.
But then there are people out there that, they're going to do what they got to do. That guy had I think that was on TSN. I know who you're talking about. Was that Lambier or whatever?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that guy, he's good at kind of like that trolling, kind of baiting you in, loaded question type of deal.
Yeah.
But I feel like with me, the way I look at things, I'm so like small right now. It's like I don't ever want to like disrespect anybody or anything like that. Which is another reason why sometimes I don't like to do, like when I do one-on-one interviews with wrestlers, I don't like to always go live, because you never know like how they're going to react to some of your questions, because a lot of times this is your first time meeting these people. So I've had an instance where I asked something that was a little bit more personal than she may have liked. And she was just like, hey, let's just cut that. I was like, oh, no problem. She was like, and explained to me why everything was completely fine. But it's one of those things that if we were live, it was just been like, you know what I mean? But
right. Yeah. And I think generally, I generally try to ask everybody before we go live, is there anything they don't want to talk about? Just for that same reason. And if I had one that I brought up and it caught me by surprise, and I was like, oh, I am so sorry. They're like, oh no, it's not a problem. I'm like, it kind of felt like one.
Yeah, the energy in the room is just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and I'm truly a big believer in trying to put myself in other people's position. So I definitely don't want to be disrespectful or nasty when it comes to anyone, unless they bring it out of me.
Oh yeah.
So have you had a guest that you felt like you were in quicksand with? I mean, you were throwing up layup after layups after layups, and they just act like they didn't want to jump.
No, I'm not anybody that particular off the top of my head. Some of one of them, I felt like it was kind of like pulling teeth a little bit, but I just think that a lot of that's also in my own head, because then when you watch it back or you ask someone else's opinion, they don't pick up on the same things that you pick up on. Right. But I guess that's because you're in the moment, you're asking these questions, or, you kind of can feel the vibe a little bit. But no, everybody's been relatively cool for the most part that I've had on.
So, what is the goal for your podcast in 2026?
2026, interesting. So after the new year, I decided to take a little bit of a break, just because when I started the podcast in April, I was pumping out one podcast every single week, a new interview every single week. Sometimes I did 2 interviews on certain weeks. So I just wanted to slow down a little bit after the new year, just kind of reassess, figure out some things, kind of like build a good short list of guests to who I want to bring on this year. And who knows where it's going to go. I know it's just a podcast right now, but eventually, it might turn into something else a lot bigger. And like I said, I just wanted to take a little break after the new year. So I'm going to get back on doing some interviews here very soon. I just had some personal things I had to take care of. And like I said, schedule change. So I'm going to have a little bit more of a structured schedule that I can dedicate towards podcasting to make sure that I'm able to be consistent and just keep pumping out content. So,
with that being said, what would be right now, what would be a major opportunity for you right now if it came your way?
Maybe some sort of like direct access with like a big major company or something like that, to where you're able to have, guest on at any time, where major names, and just have more access, I guess, to guests that you want to bring on.
That was another question I wanted to ask. How have you found trying to get guests? How have you found that interaction?
It's a lot easier than I think I expected when I first started. You kind of get overwhelmed in the beginning, where like, where do I start? Who do I message? How do I message them? What do I do? What are they going to say? But I think that you cure all that with just doing it. And whether that's messaging them on social media, emailing them, if they have a direct, way of contacting them, go that route. And again, the worst thing they can say is no. And if they're in your mind already saying no, then what's the worst that can happen? You know what I mean? Just like I said, I thought someone was like, oh, she won't do it, whatever. And right away, yep, let's do it. I'm just like, all right, cool. Well, that's the mindset you got to keep, because it's like, the more you keep taking your shot, the more eventually you're going to make those shots. So it's just keep doing your thing.
If I was a new podcaster, never did it, and I'm coming to you for advice, what advice would you give me?
Well, I'd want to ask, like, what are the reasons why you want to do it? And if it's something that you're, passionate about and dedicated about, then you're going to do fine, because you're always going to want to be thriving to dedicate yourself to it. But if it's just something you want to do because you think other people are doing it, then don't waste your time, because it's, a lot of work, and it's a lot of time and a lot of grind, and not a lot of instant gratification. So if you want instant gratification, if you want, that instant payoff, then it might not be for you. But if you're all about the long haul, the long story, and the long play, and, like I said, making connections and getting your name out there and seeing what else this could turn into, like, not just wrestlers reach out, but I have promoters reach out, so it's like, that's, it shows you that, you're doing the right thing when it comes to, your podcast, whether it's wrestling or whatever it is.
Definitely. I always think when you hear from a promoter, then you really caught someone's attention. If he whether it be him or a couple of wrestlers. I think that's a big compliment for you.
Yeah. And it's a little bit of a hierarchy, you know what I mean? Wrestling. And like we were saying, how you get that third party referral from someone who you did a podcast with, and they say, hey, go on so-and-so's go on Professor Bear's podcast, because, he asked me questions that not really many people ask me, or what have you. And you're able to work your way up that hierarchy sometimes by, getting these referrals, or, getting, people that you maybe not have thought of contacting, but because that person put in a good word for you, hey, I'm going to go that route. And that's kind of how sometimes where I have a vision of like, okay, I'm going to get this person as guests. And then say the first one refers me to two other people, and I might have to branch out this way real quick. You know what I mean? Right. So it's just, sometimes it's just, it's strange, but it's fun,
I want to thank you for coming on my podcast. I'm a firm believer in giving people their flowers when they are doing something very good. I think a lot of times too many people get their flowers after they're gone, can't smell them, can't appreciate them. And one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this is to give thanks and shout people out, because a lot of times podcasters don't get that, like you said, that initial gratification, and don't get to hear how well they are doing and how other podcasters appreciate them. And I think that's a big thing, because even though in a way we're in competition, it doesn't mean that we can't support each other, work with one another, and to be honest, to let someone know, hey, your podcast is really good. I really enjoy it. So Thank you so much for everything you're doing and continuously doing for the sport we both love.
Absolutely. I appreciate you for having me on here. And just to add to that, I think the comparison is the thief of joy. So, I mean, I'm guilty of it sometimes too, where you see another podcast and you're like, oh, how do they have 1,000 subscribers, or how do they have this many viewers, or whatever. But you don't always see what the grind was going into it. You don't know how long they've been doing it. You don't know what's going on. So it's like, when you start beating yourself up about those things, it's the wrong way to go. Just keep doing your thing, and eventually everything will work itself out.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Well, again, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. You can find me on YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I'm on everything besides Twitter and Snapchat.
and of course, what I didn't do, the QR code, anybody who's watching this know what the QR code is. But if you don't, the QR code is for this gentleman's YouTube page. Please go check him out. Like I said, he has some great interviews. Again, he impressed me very much, and I just it's an amazing thing being a podcaster and seeing other podcasts that you like, well, damn, that was pretty good. Let me see that. I might have to keep watching it. That was good.
Real has to recognize real, and it's like, I'm the same way. If ever I want to find something good, I have no problem, giving them adulation or big ups, because it takes nothing off of you to commend somebody else. And yeah, like you said, if you check me out on YouTube, I have about 183 subscribers right now. I'm churning and burning towards 1,000. And I have a lot of great interviews on there. Like I said, just incredible. I've interviewed AEW's Big Swole. I had a great interview with her talking about her battle with Crohn's disease. I also have Crohn's disease. So we've had near-death experiences, both, where we're able to kind of like pick each other's brains. And even top independent stars like Mickey Knuckles. So, I mean, I have all kinds of different interviews on there. Mr. California, a lot controversial ones, so Blaze the Bingo Hall. That's the title.
So Guys, girls, thank you so much for joining me around the campfire again for another amazing interview. Again, and I'm not speaking on myself, but there are so many good podcasters out there. Give them a try. I mean, Professor won't be mad. I won't be mad. Actually, I'll be happy because you have more variety out there, and you can have so many different favorites, and you can continue getting great content from not just me, but a lot of these guys and girls that I've had on. So definitely do that. And as I always have to say before I end the show, please support your local indie wrestling. Again, I always say that it's not better than WWE. It's not worse than WWE. What it is, it's a different feeling. It's more where you can actually get to talk to the wrestlers, buy merch from that wrestler. It's a whole different atmosphere that I promise you, if you take your family, they will have memories that is going to last them a lifetime. And when you leave, you'll be surprised this green thing in your pocket is money that you didn't have to spend. It's affordable. So definitely do that.
Absolutely.
With that being said, I am Professor Bear. This has been a Bear's Thought, and we will see you around the campfire again soon. Y'all take care.
Peace.